Hi, Stuart Bruce here, and I am the Spare Time Property Investor. In these podcasts, I'm going to share tips, tricks and lessons that I've learned and will hopefully help you, especially if you're still working the 9 to 5. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Spare Time Property Investor. Today is an interview episode and I'm joined by Andrew and Mary from the Elite Investor Group. They invest in property up in Leeds, primarily HMOs. And they are architects, so it's really interesting to see what they take from being architects and how they use that in their investing. So without wanting to waste any more time, here is the interview with Andrew and Mary. So thank you so much, Andrew and Mary, for coming on to the podcast. It's a real pleasure to have you on. And to start off with, let's talk a little bit about your careers as architects, what your life looks like on a day-to-day basis, and how you manage to fit in property investment into your busy lives.
I think you start since you just rushed home from work.
I've rushed home from work. So I do part-time lecturing. So I lecture interior architecture in Leeds. I lecture in Manchester Uni, and I do this about 3 to 4 days a week, and the rest 3 to 4 days I commit to our property business. So I do the viewings and stuff like that, and when we're on site, I do any kind of site admin that is required, less on site and more kind of off site work I do.
And then I'm a bit more traditional, so I still work full time as an architect. At the minute I've been on furlough, which is plus points and negative points, but full time.
He means plus points, not plus points.
It sounds like it. He just corrected himself there.
I know.
But yeah, full time. So full time, so 5 days a week. So yeah, it's a bit harder to get the property stuff in on the side, but that's the benefit of Mary being more part-time and her being able to free up the time to work on the business.
That sounds great. Okay, cool. So with the furlough then, it's giving you a bit more time to focus on property, obviously. Are you back doing the 9 to 5, or are you still kind of on furlough at the moment?
No, I'm still on furlough.
Okay.
Time's running out though. Furlough ends at the end of the month, so we'll see how much longer it lasts. But no, I'm not back. I'm still on furlough. Like as Mary's been saying, plenty of positives. It's been really great to be able to throw myself into property full time and almost have a mini test run of what it might be like once we get out of work, and loved every minute of it.
Yeah, okay, that's great, cool. So the next question is all about how the coronavirus has affected them. I mean, really, have you had any projects running through this coronavirus pandemic? And if so, has it slowed you down, or by the sounds of it, it might have actually been helped by you being on furlough?
Yeah,
We've
plenty.
had
Plenty of projects, yeah.
We've had both ends of the spectrum as well. We had a project it should have been finished and it was delayed. And because it got delayed, it pushed it into basically COVID and the lockdown happening. And the builder left because of COVID. And so we just completely, we were already late, builder had gone. We were probably about a month or something off finishing. Yeah. And then that ended up becoming another 3 months because of lockdown. So yeah, that was one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum, where I've been on furlough. And I've had the opportunity to project manage another HMO, and even get my hands dirty and do a lot of the work as well. So it's been a real blessing and a curse, really.
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah,
a real mixed bag, really, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that's so you mentioned HMOs. Then is that your kind of main strategy?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so
yeah, absolutely. We kind of like to focus on a strategy at a time, and almost get things right and get things a bit more systemized and organized before we move on to a different strategy. Yeah. So we kind of started with a rent-to-rent service accommodation strategy, and when we were quite comfortable that that was running in itself, what we do is one of us stays in that strategy, and the other one then gives more of its hours and more of its time. So you moved on to HMOs and stuff like that while I was systemizing the service accommodations. And then we would, as soon as that gets systemized, then we move fully onto the next strategy. And at the moment, and I think for the near future, we'll be focusing on HMOs.
No, that sounds very sensible. So going back then, when you were doing the rent to SA, so how did you get into that? Was that... did you do some training around that specifically, or how did you get into that? Because it's going straight into that. It sounds quite,
Yeah, definitely.
Quite a leap.
So we did. We're big fans of education, aren't we? Being architects, so you study for 7 years. Everyone kind of knows architects studying for a long time. So we continue with that. And so anytime we think that we need education, we get into it. So we did was it a 2-day or a 3-day course?
3 days.
Yeah, so we did a 3-day course, like intensive training in service accommodation. Came away knowing kind of all the important information about it, how to set up a company, different things to look for, the OTAs, the rights and wrongs of it really that we could look out for, which was really useful. We started a kind of a separate business, which is the service accommodation business, and now it's kind of become the letting side of everything, hasn't it?
Yeah. Management company.
Yeah, management.
That's really good. Cool. Okay, so then you went from there and started going into HMOs. Was that when you built up some capital from the rent so you were able to buy, or are you still doing rent HMOs?
No, we buy. So the long-term game was always that we wanted to buy and hold our own portfolio. It wasn't, we didn't see rent as a long-term solution, and missing out on all the capital appreciation over the years.
Yeah.
And that kind of generational wealth and things like that. We've been out of the country for 3 years. We've been traveling, and then we were living in Australia for 2 years. And
Nice.
part of our problem when we first got back was getting mortgages. So as soon as that avenue opened up to us, that was it. We just moved straight onto HMOs and started to build that portfolio for ourselves.
Okay, great. That sounds very interesting about being abroad for 3 years. I mean, that must have been quite an adventure. That must have been pretty amazing being able to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely our why is traveling. Coronavirus and lockdown is an absolute nightmare. I've been out of the country for 3 days this year, which is just unheard of, and it's killing me. But I don't know when the next holiday will be either. But yeah, that's definitely the why. So we went off traveling for a year and then decided to go and move to Australia, which was a great experience and great country to live. And
had our mindset changed there as well when we were traveling, didn't we?
I think Australia was amazing, but it was I'd say to anybody, if if you're happy to work the 9 to 5 and until you retire, then go to Australia and do it in Australia. Don't do it in why hang around why hang around in the UK? But we'd had our mindset shifted when we were traveling, and being in Australia, visa restrictions and things like that, it was not going to be able to meet what we were wanting to achieve.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, we're with you. We're, traveling and seeing different places and experiencing different things is definitely one of our big reasons why we're doing what we're doing. And a lot of people say about Australia. I've not been yet. A lot of people do say how incredible it is, and it sounds like a great experience for you both.
It's really good. It was, we kind of, we wanted a home from home. So after going traveling, we did want to, obviously we're both architects, we wanted to practice architecture somewhere, and we didn't want to make life too hard for ourselves. So we did want a home from home, and they accept your as do lots of other countries because they like British architects, but especially Australia really accept British architects with their qualifications and stuff like that. Like, this is going to be like really comfortable to get back into it.
Yeah.
And it was going to be a really sunny place, but we actually underestimated the country and how diverse a country it is. And we came out learning so much about the diversities of the Eastern countries whilst being in Australia.
Yeah.
And just, it opened up our minds to so many other cultures that we thought we would ever understand. And like, actually kind of, we were in a stage of our lives where we were taking in a lot of information and had our eyes kind of opened, and it gave us so much more than we expected, including property. We realized we wanted to do property in Australia.
Oh, is that where you kind of, when you started thinking about it then?
Yeah, we just finished traveling, and I was very much like, we need to come up with something. We need to come up with a way of, generating, this kind of passive income, not trading hours for money. And we went through all sorts of different, we looked at all sorts of different things, all different.
We did online marketing. We tried that. We did, we were thinking about selling different supplements, teas.
All sorts of stuff. And then, just came across an advert for a Rich Dad Poor Dad property seminar, and then that was just just the penny dropped as soon as we saw it, being architects.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because you're architects, it would seem like the kind of obvious choice for you to go into property investment and
you
stuff.
Think that
you still went around the houses. You get.
We tried everything else.
You've read 4-hour work weeks, you're doing the supplements, and you've read this book, and you go and have to do this.
Exactly. Yeah. We kind of, some of our closest friends who are doing really exciting stuff. So we did surround ourselves. Yeah. And I encourage everyone to, when you have this kind of a change in mindset, it's great to surround yourself with lots of different people, with lots of different creative thoughts, and a set of our friends kept saying that you should really hone in what you're actually what your real interests are, what your actual skills are, and make a list of what you'll be interested in. And it kind of the penny dropped at some point.
That's great. You've got friends who are say with a similar mindset, and helping you to kind of make those decisions. That's really lucky. That's a great kind of thing to have in your life, really. Some of the people that are on the same page, really.
I do appreciate it's difficult to come by, but we had an amazing group of friends in Australia. There was 8 or 9 of us.
We came from a course.
We'd all met on the property course, but it became so much more than that. It became this really entrepreneurial, business-focused mastermind, effectively. That's and even more self-development and all sorts. And it was really met up once a month, and it was just a really amazing environment to be in. And I really encourage anybody to try and find something like that. Especially in the early days when you're trying to figure things out.
Yeah. That sounds amazing, because I think a lot of people, when you can, a lot of people go to kind of networking events and stuff, just to start trying to. It's not the same, is it? It's not the same going and standing in a room full of strangers you never met before. You kind of giving people your business card while they give you your, their business card. Rather than sitting with a group of friends, basically, who are on the same page, all heading for the same, aim. And it's a different ball game altogether. And by the sounds of it, you found it, and it works really well.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail in the head. Really, is that you shouldn't always go into networking events to gain business. A lot of networking events, specifically property ones, you should be there to gain knowledge and actually meet like-minded people. So we've made lots of really good friends in these environments that have really helped us. Like, they've become our mentors. not like unpaid mentors. Literally, we pick up the phone, we meet them, and that, you know, they help us and vice versa. And it's just such an amazing experience to be able to know that that's available out there. But you just got to go in there with the right mindset to be able to do that and kind of like share that experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think you're right. And, you know, also what you can give to people, and, you know, not having that kind of transactional, I don't know, it always seems a bit strange when you just go up to people and say, oh, where do you invest? How are you doing? Oh, right, I've got to go and speak to that person now. And it just seems, really odd. Yeah.
We don't give out business cards anymore.
I always forget them.
Yeah, we forget them. We don't have them on us. We've got boxes of business cards that we haven't used. After, I think, a couple of networking events, I gave up. And I was just like, this is just really clinical. Nobody wants this. And then we started to, what I started to do is anybody I'd meet, I have a really good conversation with them. And then I'd ask for their number, and then I'd take their photo. So that number and their photo saved, and it makes a really, really nice conversation as well, because everybody gets really shy when you're like, I'm going to have to take your photo. And then you just do, so kind of, it's an icebreaker as well.
Yeah, that's nice, and it's different, so it stands out a little bit. So that's really nice. That's really good. Cool. Okay, so I mean, it sounds like you've done a lot of different things to, you know, develop and build and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you're architects. So in what way has been, you know, having that background as of architects, how has that kind of helped you or hindered you? You know, how do you use that in your property investment?
I think it's obvious we've got a wealth of knowledge and a lot of background and experience from being architects, and I think it gives us that edge in that ability to see opportunities that other people might not be able to see. And that ability to assess a property quickly as well. Looking at a floor plan, it can, you know, in a couple of minutes, we can get an idea of how it might work and how it might be laid out. And then, you know, we can decide whether or not the property's worth pursuing. So I think that's one of the big edges for us, that speed of getting through that first feasibility stage, and like I said, seeing potentials that other people might not recognise.
Yeah, and you very quickly, Andrew loves research, so within minutes of looking at a potential property, he's worked out how many bedrooms can fit in there. He's downloaded the planning, like anything from the planning portal, next door, down the road. He's looked at different houses on Rightmove as well, and he's you've downloaded the land registry for that house next door, and he's like, right. These are all the options. We can do this. So I think just because we do it naturally, we don't think twice about it. We just do that. We just go on, and like, we download it, we understand it, we can do it, we can't do it. And it's just, the process is a lot quicker and a lot more clear for us, I guess.
Yeah, and I think alongside, similar to that, and then leading towards the other end of the spectrum, is that I think one of the big skills that architects have that is difficult to convey to other people and difficult for people to understand is that we have that ability to visualize things. Mm-hmm. So we have that ability to see what that end product could be and how it's going to look and how it will work and go together. Yeah. And so being able to forward see that future, and then also from that leads into that, well, what's it going to actually look like as a space for that tenant to live in and experience and occupy, and the level of quality that we believe our HMOs are. Yeah. I think that all goes together, which is where Mary's speciality is, that end, and delivering that end design and that user experience.
That's right. So I very quickly create models, all the specifications and everything like that, and understand how everything should go together, which orientation, what's maximizing space, how we can, use different spaces, different heights and everything like that to and the quality of design, the quality of space that you get, it should it should create kind of like you should get a sense of space, the sense of belonging, that you actually want to spend time there, rather than, you know, wallpapering like a nice wallpaper, but actually it's in the completely wrong place, and it makes people feel anxious rather than really happy and calm in that space. So knowing how to do that and how to put that kind of design together, I think is really important for us as well. Creating that sense of experience.
So clearly it's a real benefit for you guys having that background. I mean, do you know other architects who have gone into investment, or is it a new?
So we've not.
It's not a common thing.
Yeah, we've only ever met one.
It's the dark side.
We've only ever met one architect at a networking event, and I said to him, I was like, it's great that and he was there as an architect. He wasn't there as a developer or anything, like an investor or anything like that. And I said, you're really spot on, because if you're an architect and you want to be an architect, this is the place to be to get business. But then, we've met, there's obviously a few that we've met through the community, some of the well-known ones, like Alex from Powell Properties has been on your podcast, and Mark from Mark Bellop. So there's a few out there in the community that we've got in touch with and got to know.
And doing really exciting things.
I always find it really strange that people who have, I interviewed Rick Braithwaite as a surveyor, and I asked the same question to him, because you kind of think surveyor, you know how much everything's going to, it costs.
That's right.
You kind of think, maybe that would be an obvious leap for a lot of people to go from that to invest in. No, apparently it's not a big thing.
It's not.
Such a, for me, an obvious, you'd think an obvious thing, how to get the maximum, space out of properties and carve it up and have that kind of vision and stuff like that. Again, not really. It just seems kind of strange that people
end up in their bubble, don't they? And they think they have to stick to it.
Well, I think as well, like Mary alluded to as well, like it's the dark side of architecture. We're told that we can't be architects and developers, and we have to have this clear line between us, and it's just just nonsense. But I think that also puts people off.
That's right.
Yeah, do you get shunned from the architect parties and stuff? Is there like a black box against the name?
I mean,
not yet.
Not yet.
This is Australia, but I'm sure it happens in the UK as well. But when I was in Australia, I was working on a 42-story office building in northern Sydney, and the client, who was the developer, used to be an architect, and my boss called him a failed architect, despite the fact that he was developing a 42-story tower. And
he sounds like a real failure.
Employing us to do the drawings for him, but he's a failed architect.
I mean, it's a perspective.
Whatever makes you sleep at night.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to say to yourself, go for enough. Strange, but okay, cool. Okay, so the other thing that I've noticed from your Instagram, especially, your rooms look great, and I've got a personal view about the benefits of having great looking rooms, but I know there's a fair amount of landlords out there who just don't see the point of spending money and time on making your rooms look great, because somebody's going to rent it anyway. So I mean, what are your opinions in terms of why it's important to have great looking rooms?
I think we both can answer this, but I think there's there's two main things. One is that you get a better rent out of it. Yes, somebody will rent it, but not at its maximum, capacity. We rent our rooms higher than the market rent. So anything that's going in that area, our rooms are higher than that price. And we rent them out with no problems, and people are happy to pay that amount, because there are people out there who want that quality, and they can afford affordability to it. And another thing is that you actually, as humans, we should feel responsible to create great spaces for people. It's not on.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
I totally agree.
No, I think they're really, really important things to do, and we should live by that. We have, like, that's our principles, really, to live by.
There's so many points to back up why we believe in great rooms, and like one of our mottos is that everything in life is a design opportunity, and you should be taking everything as a design opportunity. But like Mary said, increased rents, increased end value, they're just, bottom line figure reasons of why you want to do it. But we've done presentations on the benefits of good design, and there's more to it as well. Like we have a part in one of the presentations where we picked up off someone's Instagram post where they said that they didn't have any drawings, they just said to the builder, I want an ensuite in every room, and they ended up with ensuites that were bigger than the bedroom, and they couldn't fit the bed in anymore. And it's just things like that, just taking that time and care to actually carefully design something and lay it out and plan it, even then before getting into the finishes and the quality of the finish. It's just going to increase the value of your product, and as Mary said, increase your rents and attraction to tenants.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd love to play devil's advocate, but I'm not going to bother because I totally agree. That's great. Cool. Okay. So what is your favourite deal you've done so far, do you think?
I think for me, the last one we've just done has been my favourite deal, because I've had that, as we touched on before, being on furlough, I've had that time and capacity to be able to be very hands-on with it. We didn't hire a main builder. I hired individual tradesmen and then acted as the project manager between them. And that was just such a great experience. Yes, I've got knowledge of being on construction sites, and I love that end of the project, the architecture process, being on site building stuff.
Yeah.
But then actually being in charge of that program and managing people, and having the problem come to me and having to help solve it was really great experience.
Yeah, I think we learned a lot as well, because me partly, but you fully, we were very hands-on in the project and learned loads from it. And we'd never have that kind of opportunity in any other circumstances, but because obviously university, you get like a month or so in the summer holidays that you don't have to go to university or anything like that, and also you having that time off. It really, we were really hands-on on our projects. And being architects, people think, oh, they must be hands-on all the time, but you're not. You're actually going, and most of the time you're viewing works that are being carried out. But for us to actually do it was just amazing, and understanding how much time things take when you're carrying out like labor works and things like that was really, really interesting and really eye-opening for us. So I think we'll never go to another project like blind, in terms of we were never quite blind, but you are slightly blinkered because you have no realistic idea of exactly how long something takes. But we've got a really, really good idea of how long something takes, and not that long. We were bashed out our last HMO in 3 months?
12 weeks,
12 weeks. It's brilliant.
I think it's such a good idea for people to get hands-on, because, like you say, it does give you a real insight into how long things take, and sometimes it's really not that long to do certain things.
Oh.
But it's a great thing to do, and like it's two sides to it. I think it's a really good experience, so kind of roughly how long things take and everything like that. But then it's also quite nice when you think, I don't have to do it anymore. I'll give it to somebody else.
Oh yeah.
I think as well, this whether or not once we get full time in property, would we be doing all the legwork on all the properties? I mean, probably not, but it's definitely opened my eyes up to, well, more deals might be potential opportunities now, because if it is, if we do need to squeeze it and we do need to reduce the cost, and it's not that major works, then there's the potential there to be able to pick it up ourselves, or project manage it ourselves at least, and reduce that expense down. I think that's, there's plenty of people in industry as well that, building backgrounds or whatever, and that's how they're successful, because they have that ability to squeeze down the margins.
Yeah. I think another thing that we've done as well is that quite a lot of investors or developers and those who develop away from where they live can't do is we actually started with kind of marketing our HMOs ourselves,
Okay.
and using our VA to assist with all the paperwork and everything like that. So we do some things front on, and then he does everything in the background. And it's really interesting. I have 2 clients that I carry out their HMO interior design for.
Oh, nice.
And they're with companies, they're with agents, and they get given crazy amount of time. So their agent tells them, you need to wait this many weeks or this many months for all your rooms to get rented. Our last HMO, we rented it in a week.
Yeah.
The whole thing was full.
I can imagine.
We finished on Saturday. People moved in on Sunday, and the rest of the people moved in for the rest of the week, and that was it. It was over.
Yeah.
And some people, because they either don't have great agents, or they rely on them, and they haven't had any kind of experience front on that. They probably think that that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely. Yeah. I mean, especially when you've got rooms that look really great as well. I mean,
right?
Of course you're going to fill it. Of course you're going to.
Yeah. Of course you're going to fill it. Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm sure when you look at I mean, everyone does it. When you go into spare room and things like that, and you kind of have a little look at what else is out there. I'm sure you're thinking, we're going to beat that one. We're going to get in.
Yeah.
Everyone does. Everyone does it. So yeah. No.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, that's crazy though. They gave them. You're giving yourself far too much of a kind of a safety margin of safety.
Yeah.
It's like, get it done. Get it done.
Get it done. Get it rented.
Absolutely, that's crazy.
I know. Yeah.
And a top tip as well is get it on the market. A lot of people want to finish it and have this beautiful product, but you need to get it on the market before you're done, 3 to 4 weeks before you're finishing, because as well, there's no better deadline than a tenant moving in. Because there's no, you've got to be done. There's no messing around then. It's got to be done. So
when they turn up with their suitcases and stuff like that, you best believe.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you've got that, and then you all of a sudden put a new pressure on your tradesmen when you've got the tenant.
It's got to be done.
So how do you make sure that people know what to expect? Do you use pictures from previous projects, or do you finish one room off, or do you do like a virtual?
So we'll start the adverts will have previous properties on, but they'll say on the advert, this is not the property, but this is the level of finish that it'll, the standard of finish it will be, and then we use that to obviously attract them in the first place. But then we take them. If you've got paint on the wall, that's the ideal stage, because they can at least start to see the colours, things like that. Or even if it's at least been mist coated, so it's a bit bright, it's nice and bright in there, things like that. But then we support that with images from, so we model all our houses in SketchUp, which is just part of our, it's just part of our design process really. But then we have that ability to take those images out of it and use them as marketing material when the tenants are looking around to say what it's going to be like.
Yeah, so in each room we take them round and we say this is what it's going to look like. And we don't know how, but they love it. It's great. People have good imagination. Don't underestimate them.
But you're helping them to visualize it at least. You're not.
That's right. Yeah.
Just raw.
We make a joke out there. We put smiley faces at the end of the messages and say, come round, just bring your imagination with you and things like that. We don't try and hide that.
Yeah.
They're going to see some beautiful polished place. We let them know that might be stepping over a joiner or whatever here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. That's a really good tip. I'm glad we discussed that, really, because I think there must be people who leave it until everything's like completely finished, and you don't need to. Absolutely don't need to.
Really difficult then. And as well, most tenants have to give a month's notice.
Of course. Yeah.
So
You're pushing everything
you're
back.
shooting yourself in the foot, so you're putting it back another month. So the best thing to do is to put it 3 to 4 weeks earlier. 3 weeks earlier we think is a great time. And then, some people can get out of their contracts early, some people aren't in contracts, but those who are, you've only got that week buffer. And then you can get them in.
That's great. Cool. Okay. Have you got 3 tips then for people, to invest around their day job, their careers?
Oof, good question.
Perseverance. There's no right answer to it's really it'll be really bold of us to sit here and be like, oh, we're so organized, and we've organized ourselves and scheduled ourselves and stuff like that. When the going gets tough, that schedule gets binned, and nobody looks at the Asana board. And we just kind of are panic stations. We work 24 hours, but if you have a really strong why, you just do it. You put all the hours you have in the day, you have a couple of hours sleep, because that's what you do, and then you get on with it, and in a couple of weeks time you see the light, and you can rest for a weekend.
Yeah, you can, and then start again. On that I'd say the second point would be try and do one, just focus on doing one thing every day that moves your business forward, and compound effect, it will soon add up towards the end of the year. Don't get hung up on I need to do 10, 20 things a day. You just focus on that one thing that's going to move you forward, bringing that agent or whatever it might be.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And I think for people who are starting early, don't get deflated, don't get put off because everybody else is doing great and you don't have the right deals and stuff and things like that. It takes a long time for people to know exactly what strategy works, what area works, and to kind of get all your eggs in one basket, but to be brave enough to actually step over the next hurdle. When we were our 2 projects ago, when we went into that deal, our HMO deal, we didn't know if it was going to be a great deal or anything like that. We just kind of we were like, okay, we can transform this like garage into like an internal space. It ended up really, really good, but we didn't know how much we were going to get back. There weren't too many HMOs in the area, and we've just recently got that reevaluated, and we thought we were going to get, our worst case scenario was about 25% ROI, and we've got about 50% ROI.
Wow,
after
that's great.
Yeah, so really don't overthink it. Go into it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think sometimes it's difficult not to, because you just want to make sure you don't make a mistake or something. So you think, I've just got to make sure everything's. But you do need to make a decision to like get the next one over the line sometimes, don't you? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just go and do it.
Have you got any business books or property books that you go back to or would recommend to people? You're not allowed Rich Dad.
You're the book guy.
You're not allowed
you already mentioned it. You already mentioned it. The 4-Hour Work Week was the book for me that changed everything. Like changed all the mindset and changed the way I work. And I suppose slightly going back to the previous question as well, if you want to I'd recommend anybody who's trying to do property on the side of their day job to read the 4-Hour Work Week. And you don't have to go for all out like he's claiming, and it's great if you can get yourself to remote working and whatnot, like he says. But that he talks about being effective and not being efficient, and there's so many tips in there. Like I don't have my email. Ever since I've read that book, I've turned off my email notifications.
Facebook notifications.
Nobody at work knows that I don't get notifications. Nobody realizes that I check my emails 2 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just things that people think you could never do, but then it just gives you that time to focus. You're not getting distracted. I get my work done quickly and effectively, and therefore I'm free up time to be able to do the property stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd say, that's my favourite book, and it actually kind of goes back into the previous question as well.
Yeah, that's a great book. I feel like I need to reread it. It's one of those books that you kind of, you kind of remember bits and pieces, but it's, I think it takes a bit of discipline. I have to admit, some of the things that he talks about takes a little bit of discipline to kind of keep up with, because he's quite extreme, isn't he?
He's definitely at the extreme end.
Yeah,
that's why I take you. You know, if you only apply 20% of it, at least
you're flying
somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's our favourite. And then, you know, Rich Dad Poor Dad, we realised we actually were interested in property. And then if you're interested in personal development, Tony Robbins is really good. His books are normally really long, but A Note to a Friend is really short.
Okay,
and it's really good. It's very brief, and it's absolutely lovely. He writes as if you're his friend, and he's just giving you encouragement. So it's a really, really nice
A Note to a Friend. That sounds good.
A Note to a Friend, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Cool. Have you got any? You've already talked about Asana. Have you got any kind of tools that you use to kind of, you know, with your investment alongside your careers, or?
Yeah.
So I suppose, obviously, being architects, we use AutoCAD and SketchUp to draw and model all our buildings. Obviously, SketchUp, I mean, is free, and it's quite easy to pick up, and recommend people go into it. And you can do 2-dimensional floor plans off that as well, and to help you draw your spaces to scale and understand where furniture and things like that is going to go. But then in terms of like more business tools, and apps, Asana's the big one. Slack, Asana and Slack are the big ones for communicating with our VA and managing tasks with our VA.
I think, and in terms of kind of design apps, we like Pinterest. If you get any, you know, you don't want to do anything else, you scroll on Pinterest for the latest trends. And also Adobe Color Wheel is really good. Adobe Color, it kind of tells you what colors go, and it really it helps you. So if you put a photo on or something like that, it picks up all the different colors, so you can so you know what the colors are there as well.
And you love Dulux Visualizer as well, don't you?
Dulux Visualizer, yeah. You can live take photos, and you can apply Dulux color onto the wall.
Oh, that's clever. That's really clever.
So your lovely partner, your wife, can visualize all the different colors all the time for the back of your living room.
It's funny you say it, because she's just getting her head around SketchUp at the moment, actually, and bits and pieces. So yeah, I'm gonna. So
if you need any help.
Mary did a great tutorial on the Property Sisters YouTube channel.
Really?
Yeah. It's just
I'll grab that off you.
Nice.
she's getting a lot better with it. But you know, when you like use a new program, there's like those moments when you want to chuck the computer out the window. It's just
that point. Oh yeah, you do that with SketchUp, especially with curves.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm convinced, out of all the people I interview, I will have the worst job, like guaranteed, because I was a musician for a while. So I did like little bitty jobs just for like cash. So I did a day on emptying like bins, you know, Sulo bins. I worked in a sweet factory, which is way worse than it actually sounds like. I've done tons and tons of really bad jobs, right?
Brilliant.
So I challenge you.
What is the worst job you've done?
Honestly, the worst I've ever had is just one summer being doing data inputting, which was just mind-numbingly boring. But other than that, I've not had any real horror jobs. I was I got my coaching qualifications to coach football when I was the youngest person in the UK at the time to qualify. So you'd have to be 16 years old, and I qualified when I was about 16 years old and 1 month. So when all my mates were off doing that, like 16 to 18-year-old, just getting a job to earn money, I was coaching football and I was getting paid. I think it was 15.
Good money.
It was either £10 or £15 an hour when I was like 16 years old. So I never went down that like crap job route. It was literally just one summer.
Thanks, the rest of us
one
did.
Summer, one summer with uni when I had to go do data inputting. But yeah, no.
So you got off lightly.
I know. No, I worked.
That's amazing. Sorry.
It's good. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
I worked at Subway sandwiches.
So Mary, what's yours? What's your?
So I was a sandwich artist at Subway sandwiches, and
that sounds pretty soul destroying.
Oh, it was. So that's when I got the job when I was 16. I was like in my first year of sixth form or something like that, and I got paid £2.13 an hour.
Wow.
I know, yeah. I bet you nobody got paid that low. So,
that is
cash in hand.
Okay.
I'll get my £2.13 an hour, and it was not glamorous. And yeah, no, I'm not going to say anything about Subway sandwiches themselves. It's tasty meatballs, but yeah, the pay wasn't great, and my boss wasn't great.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I still win and lose simultaneously.
Yeah,
depending on how you kind of look at it, really. But if you could, so this is the last question. If you could speak to your 18-year-old selves, what advice would you give them?
Oh.
Might go first, you can still.
Yeah, you go. Okay.
One of my favourite quotes, which I'm now going to bastardize because I can't remember it properly, is it's by Yuval Noah Harari. That's how you say his name. Who wrote *Sapiens*, and it's everything you believe is a myth, and that's okay. And I would tell my 18-year-old self that. So again, back on the football coaching side of things, I went over to America for 3 months when I was 19 years old to coach football, just before I went to uni. And it was like absolutely incredible 3 months. But the whole time I kept being like, well, this is great, but at some point I've got to go back to reality and go back to the UK and go to uni and get a job, and like this thing can't last forever. And I think that's the point I try and make to my 18-year-old self, that reality is just a myth. It's just what the general consensus of the world is. It's what you've got to do, and so basically just create your own myth and go make it happen. Which is obviously what we're now trying to do with through property.
Yeah, absolutely. The amount of people I speak to in property who have that kind of realization that actually you don't need to go down that track that everybody tells you have to go down. Society kind of sets out this route for you, and it's great to hear, because I've never wanted like a day job or anything like that, and it's just like this is just a different way of doing it. So I've never had that kind of image of my life going like down that kind of very, very well trodden route. But it's great when you hear people, when they all of a sudden kind of realize actually it's all nonsense. It's all absolute nonsense. You don't need to do it. You can just do something else.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
You're giving yourself any advice?
Yeah.
I think I couldn't agree more. I think if I was to do so, my 18-year-old self, I'd say what you were saying, and I don't know if I'd do things differently. I'd actually speak to my 25 or 26 or 27-year-old self, which I was working so hard as an architect, and I was working from 9 till 9, 10, 11, 12 at midnight. And then we got to a point where we began to hate architecture, and that's why we went traveling, and that's why we didn't want to do anything. We didn't think of property because we wanted to do something different.
Right. Okay.
But actually we kind of came back to it, and it made sense. So if I was going to speak to a 21-year-old or 25-year-old like version of myself, is to actually be like, there's lots of different ways to work out the skills you have. It doesn't have to be that straight path that everybody takes. There's so many different routes to actually explore the same passion that you have.
Like you're saying though, it's so easy to connect all property with that negative experience you were having from working 12, 13-hour days doing something for as a day job. And it's sometimes I think it is really important for people to kind of realize that you don't have to chuck the baby out with the bathwater. You can kind of take the elements you like and
exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's it. That's great. Cool. Well, it'd be great to catch up maybe in a year's time, see how you guys are getting on and what progress you've made. I'm sure you'll have done a lot by the sounds of it, because you seem to be doing really amazing stuff. But how can other people kind of keep in touch with you and see what you're up to?
Instagram is the main place to find us. So it's at Elite Investor Group. Website's eliteinvestorgroup.com. But Instagram is where we hang out mainly. Or I hang out mainly.
Yeah, you can contact us on Facebook as well. We just might get back to you in a week or so. It's not where we hang out.
No, totally, yeah. Cool, that's great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and it's been great to speak to you, and I'll see you again next time.
Thanks so much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's it, the interview with Andrew and Mary, 2 architects turned property investors. And I'm sure you'll agree they're making great use of all that knowledge they've built up over time. And I'll be having them on again soon for something really exciting that I've got lined up. So that's it from me this week. I wish you the best of luck in your property investment, and I'll see you again next time. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you have, please leave me a 5-star review to help other people find it, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.